Hey guys, it's TMBRMAN, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to actually purchase your very first home, your very first property. I was once in this position, and it can be very confusing if you've never done it, you don't know how to do it, it's a scary thing. So I want to break this down for you so that you have confidence to go buy your very first home. All right, so first of all, congratulations. If you're watching this video, that means you're thinking about buying real estate, but you might not know how to do it. It's your very first purchase. You don't know what the process is to actually getting a property in your name. And let me tell you, it is a big deal, and there's a lot to go through to acquire your first property. But real estate is very exciting. It's a financial tool to build wealth. It's something that'll last a lifetime, and it's something that is guaranteed to win over time. So if you're watching this, kudos to you, because that means you're interested in buying real estate. So first of all, that's amazing. But the purpose of this video is to outline everything that takes place in actually purchasing a home. See, a lot of you are watching this, even clients that I have as a loan officer, don't really know the steps. They're interested and they want to buy, but they're like, I don't know what to do. Let's break this down so that at the end of this video, you can walk away and say, I know how to buy a property. I know all the fees involved. I know what to expect. And I'm going to make this as easy as possible so you're not confused. All right, the number one step before you look at any properties that you want to do is get pre-qualified. A lot of people skip over this step and they start looking at houses and say, wow, I really want this house, but they don't even know what they can afford. So for you watching, you need to know, first of all, what can I even shop for, right? You're not going to walk into a Lamborghini store if you can only afford a Honda. It just doesn't make sense. So why even put yourself in that position? So by getting pre-approved, well, what does that mean? How do I even get pre-approved? I don't even know what the heck that means. All right, so let's break it down. There's something called a lender or a loan officer, right? This is a representative from a financial institution or a broker's office that can actually get you in position to get a loan funded in your name to purchase a property. Okay, so how do I do this? Well, you can call a local lender, get referred someone that maybe someone else has used in the past. If you're in Idaho and want to use me, that's fine. But the point is, call someone that is licensed, that can originate loans, and say, hey, I want to get pre-qualified. And what they're going to do is they're going to look at your income, they're going to look at your job, they're going to look at your credit score, which if you don't have a good credit score, don't really know how to build that, I have another video, the link is below, going over how to build your credit. But these things are going to look at, okay, how much money do you make? Are you a W-2 employee or are you self-employed? All right, so what's your credit score? What kind of assets do you have? Meaning, how much is in your bank account? How much liquidity do you have? Or do you own any other real estate, land? What does your financial profile actually look like? And the lender is going to look at all of this and say, hey, you can afford this much. Now, the importance of doing this right off the bat is they're going to give you an actual number to stay in. So for easy numbers, they're going to say, hey, $300,000 is the max that you can afford based on your income and your credit score. Your whole financial profile is allowing you to buy a property up to $300,000. This is just an example. So that being said, you're not going to go look at houses with your wife, with your family, and say, oh, this is our dream home, and it's $500,000. Well, we're way off there from what you can afford. So that's why I say do this first. I've seen people do it backwards and they fall in love with a $500,000 house and they go through the whole process. They can only afford $300,000. It's a big bummer. So just avoid that step altogether. Number one, go to a lender, get pre-approved just to show what you can qualify for, and then you can start shopping for houses. All right, so the second step is you're actually going to look at properties, and you can do this with a realtor, or you can just search on Zillow or Redfin or one of these websites that shows what's on the MLS. Now, if you fall in love with a house or there's a couple that you really like, you can go and actually view those properties with your realtor, see that it's a fit, it's within your budget, and then you do what's called an RE21, which is making an offer, right? So you're going to actually make an offer to the sellers for a certain amount that you think is reasonable, that you think is fair, that you're comfortable with, and hopes that the seller is going to accept that offer. So number one, you've been pre-approved for a certain amount. Number two, you've shopped for houses with an agent or just on websites. You went and viewed the house, and then you're going to actually submit an offer. And that offer is basically up to the sellers. They can reject it, they can accept it, or most times what happens is they counter. They say, all right, well, you offered $250 on the house. We were listing it at $300, but we'll do $275, right? So there's a little negotiating that can happen back and forth on the offer, as well as things that maybe you could ask for. The deck's broken, there's a gate that needs repaired. So this can all happen in that offer process. And that's why the real estate agent is important, because that's their job. Their job is to make sure that your offer has everything in it that's legal, everything to protect you, and to help you make the right decision and make a good deal. All right, so you're watching this and you're like, Nate, I understand. You got to get pre-approved and then you make an offer on a house. Like, anyone understands that. All right, well, let's get into a little deeper in terms of the escrow process. Escrow is basically the time from when an offer is accepted to your funding and or close date. This is called in escrow. You see signs on top of the for sale signs that say in escrow or pending. This is that time. They've accepted your offer on a property, and now you're doing all the paperwork and the nitty-gritty to get to the best day, which is getting the keys on closing. So the very next step, once you reach escrow, which means they accepted your offer, is you have to do what's called an earnest money deposit. This is also referred to as EMD. And what this is you putting skin in the game. And typically it's 1% of the purchase price. And so if you have a $300,000 purchase, you're going to put $3,000 down to the title company saying, I'm serious about my offer. And the reason they want this is because a lot of times people will put offers on properties just to lock them up and try to figure out financing. And what earnest money does is say, hey, I'm serious about my offers, therefore I'm putting my own money into title right now to reserve this offer through escrow. Now that you have your earnest money deposit down, you're secured in your escrow process. And the next step is to have what's called a contingency period. Typically this is 5 to 10 days. And what's going to happen in this contingency period is your inspection and your appraisal. Basically, it's giving you a way out if you want out of this contract. It's your due diligence period to say, hey, let's check the foundation. Let's check the roof. Is the plumbing working? Is the electrical intact? Is there damage that needs to be repaired? So you're going to get an inspection, and then you're also going to get an appraisal. An inspection is going to check all the wear and tear, make sure nothing's wrong with the property, or things that are wrong with the property. It gives you a chance to ask the seller to fix them. And then you're also going to get an appraisal to make sure the house even appraises. Sometimes in shifting markets, people will ask a certain dollar amount for a property and it's not even worth that, meaning it doesn't appraise for that value, and therefore lenders won't loan on a property that doesn't appraise for that, right? It doesn't make sense. So you put your earnest money down, step 1. Step 2 in escrow, you have your contingency period. Get your inspection done, you get your appraisal done. Now both of these things are things that you as the borrower are going to have to pay for it. Some lenders will offer to pay for these, but typically you're going to end up paying for these. All right, so let's recap in buying a house. You go to a lender and you get pre-qualified. Then you go and shop for properties with your real estate agent and you make an offer, an RE21 is signed, which is a purchase agreement. After that, you go to a title company to deposit your EMD, your earnest money deposit, locking in your offer and starting escrow. After that, you're going to go into the contingency period, which is typically 5 to 10 days, where you're going to do your inspection and your appraisal. Now, after this is done and you say, okay, I know what I'm going to get for the inspection in terms of if anything is going to be repaired, and the property appraised, meaning the lender is going to lend on your offer because it's within the parameters of the value. So after this is done, you're going to go into a period with your lender of collecting documents to prove that what you told them in your pre-qualification is true and accurate. This can take some time. It can take a couple weeks. But again, they're going to collect things like your driver's license, your pay stubs, your W-2s. They're going to pull your credit, everything that encompasses that entire financial profile. So this can be a lengthy process, from getting your earnest money deposit down to getting your inspection period done to collecting all the documents necessary for lending to be able to give you what's called a clear to close, which allows you to get funded on your property. And once you have the clear to close from your lender, meaning they have everything they need to clear you with the bank or the financial institution that's funding your loan to approve it, they're going to set up what's called a close date, where you're going to meet at title to sign your documents and fund and record on your loan. So this day, again, from when you first put your offer to when you actually close, typically is 30 days. They call it a 30-day escrow. It's not always 30 days. Sometimes it can be shorter than that, and sometimes it takes longer than that depending on your situation. But the average is 30 days for a completed escrow. And at the end of that 30 days, you're going to be sitting probably at a desk like this with your loan documents in front of you. You're going to have a title representative who's actually there to show you the documents that you need to sign, notarize it, and you're basically signing your life away on that property, right? And that's a very cool feeling. It's very fun to do that. I remember my very first property that I signed on. It was overwhelming in a sense because obviously I'd never done it before. Obviously since then I've done it several times, and you get to understand the process. But the very first one's a special feeling when you're actually buying and signing on your very first property that you worked hard for. It's a big accomplishment to purchase real estate. Another fun fact that I cannot leave out on that clear to close funding date where you're sitting at title and you're signing your docs is you have to bring your down payment. Now, down payment is a whole nother video on what that can range from. It depends if you're a VA, if it's a first-time home buyer, if it's an investment property. But let's just say you're a first-time home buyer, you're going with an FHA loan and you have to bring 3.5% down. Well, let's just say that that total amount is $15,000 you have to bring to the table. That's your down payment, and that's going to be collected typically in the form of a check or a cashier's check made off the title at the same time that you sign your documents. After that, it'll fund the same day unless you sign late in the evening, but you'll fund the same day that you sign, meaning you get the keys, you get to move in, that whole lengthy process is over, and you are now a homeowner. So again, to recap this video, the reason you even clicked on it is you're interested in buying real estate, you're interested in buying your first house, and you just want to understand the process of how it even works. So let's go over list by list again, the steps, so that when you walk away from this video, you know exactly how this goes down. Number one, you're going to call a lender and you're going to get pre-approved. This is going to allow you to have a number that you can shop for based on your financial profile, based on what you make, your credit score, your total assets. Number two, shop for your house. Contact a real estate agent and go look at properties and actually make your offer. Step number three, you're going to go to title and submit your EMD, your earnest money deposit, which tells them that you're serious about your offer, which opens escrow and allows you to keep going through the process to actually close on this property. Step number four, you're going to enter into your contingency period where you're going to do your inspection, again, to check if anything's wrong with the property, things that you may not have seen. There's mold, there's water damage. Again, the inspector is going to crawl into places that you didn't look at when you're looking at the house. And you're going to get an appraisal to make sure that the property is actually worth what you're going to be offering on it. If it's not worth what you're going to be offering, you have to make up the difference. Otherwise, the lender won't lend on that full amount. At that point, you're going to schedule your date to close at title, where you'll sign a list of documents and bring your down payment in the form of a check and or a cashier's check to title. Once that's all signed, you'll fund the same day and you own a house. So I hope this video has given you a really easy understanding of how buying a house works. There's a lot of steps involved, and I'm sure on each one I can make just a video on that. But overall, that should give you an idea of, hey, if I want to buy a piece of real estate, I want to buy my very first home, these are the things that I should expect with my family, with my wife. These are the things I should prepare for. So again, I hope you learned something. Leave a comment if you enjoyed this video. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. You're watching TMBRMAN TV. We'll see you next time.